So does your wood floors sound like this? Well, that can be quite annoying, and of course it can wake people up at night, and that is what I will try to help you with in this video. How to stop your squeaky wood floors from, of course, squeaking or cracking or creaking, I think it is. Well, there's a few ways to do it if you can't get to the underneath of your floor. If you have a finished basement, or if you live in an apartment and you just can't get to the bottom of the underneath your floor, there's ways that I'll show you in this video that you can tackle just from above. And also, if you can get underneath your floor, your unfinished floor, then I'll be talking about that also. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll find at least one way to stop your floors from squeaking. The first things I'll talk about is it even works if you live in an apartment. So it's perfect because you can fix your floors without actually causing any damage or alterations. And the first thing that you should try if you have wood floors that creaks and squeaks is drop some baby powder, talcum powder, or even some dried graphite in the crevices, in the grooves of the wood floor. Because over time, it doesn't matter what you do, the floors will eventually start squeaking somewheres, because wood floors, they will expand, they will shrink, because of course if it gets really cold, it shrinks, and if it gets warmer and humid, it can expand. So how this will make it squeak when the floor is expanding and shrinking is that it will make things move, it will create gaps where it can start squeaking, and also the actual nails that are in the floors going into the joist can actually start to get loose. Not all of them, but a lot of them can actually start getting loose, and it can create a squeak where the nail actually goes up and down and rubs into the hole where it sits in. A lot of people don't know that, but right now, let's just hope that it's just the floorboards that expanded and shrunk just a little bit, and it's now the cause of the squeak. And if that is the cause of the squeak, well, dropping a little bit of baby powder or dried graphite into the grooves and just putting a paper towel on top of that and walking around, stomping a little bit, because what that will do, it will make that powder go down into the hole, into the crack, where hopefully the squeak is coming from. Also, some people suggest WD-40. I've never personally tried WD-40 on wooden floors, but some people say it does work. I know people that has tried it, but also that is a temporary fix. And just to make sure, just to spray a little bit into the cracks where the squeaks could be coming from, because you'll know where the squeak's coming from, because you know where the squeak is coming from. So just go there and try to spray a little bit of WD-40 if the powders that didn't work. Just make sure to clean the floor very well after applying any type of grease, because it will be extremely slippery and you'll be reminded you'll be slipping. You'll be slipping right there. So make sure to clean your floor very well. Another thing that you can do, now don't do this if you're renting. Yeah, drill holes into the actual floor. Now, the only way that I would do this is if your floor is finished underneath it. The ceiling underneath the floor is finished and you have no access. You can buy these special types of nails. I'll leave a link in the description below. So what's nice about these nails, it actually breaks when it hits where it's supposed to hit into the floor joist. So the nail breaks and it leaves just a little hole into your floor. Now, yes, you are actually screwing a screw into the floor, into your wood floor, but it's not that complicated. There's a little device that you can buy where you can actually drill the screw right into that little contraption, and that just makes it easier, because when the screw hits its mark, it separates, and then you can just easily pop it with this device. But this contraption is not really necessary. It just leaves a little bit less room for error. Now you can just use some wood floor filler and just fill in those holes. Surprisingly enough, you probably won't notice them after it's done. All right, so now we'll switch gears a little bit and we will talk about if you actually have access to the floor underneath you. Now here I have a little section of my basement that has an unfinished ceiling. So if the floor was squeaking right over there, I could go right underneath the floor and hopefully fix the problem and not have to cause any type of damage or screw any holes upstairs. So the first thing that you should do is, of course, find exactly out where the squeak is and go right underneath that squeak. Now, look at the floor joist and see if there's any separation between the subfloor and the floor joist. Now, if there's a little bit of separation, that means that there's been a little bit of movement. It might have warped somewheres and caused a little bit of separation somewheres else. Now, if that actually occurred, you can just get a shim and just stick it right into that gap. But just make sure not to stick it in too far to actually cause a wedge. You just want to fill that gap enough to stop the squeaking. And if you have a partner that's right upstairs, while you're doing this, you can just take your shim, punch it a couple of times, and make the person upstairs see if there's any squeaks. If there is a squeak, just punch it a little bit more. If there is a squeak, then that's not the problem. Now, another thing that you can do, take a piece of 2x4, the width of the area between the two studs. Now, you want to place the piece of wood in between, and you can nail that piece of 2x4 on both studs and also right into the subfloor. And just make sure the screw is not too long and don't have it go through the floor and have another mess on your hand upstairs. Or, if somebody's standing right up over your head, your helper, you don't want the screw to go right through their foot. Or maybe you do, I don't know, maybe you do. And if you don't really feel like using a 2x4, if you do have shims, but let's say the gap where you would have put your shim is just way too long, and instead of using 5-6 shims to basically try to take care of that long wedge, is to simply use construction glue. Now, you can just use construction glue. Basically, put the shim right in the middle of that long gap and use construction glue from the shim all the way to where the gap seems to subside. Let that harden, and hopefully that will also stop your floors from squeaking because everything will have wedged together and it's just enough for it to stop. Hopefully in this video you found at least one thing that can stop your hardwood floors or your wood floors from squeaking or creaking, because yes, it is quite annoying. As I said before, all the links are in the description below, and also I'll have a link to an article on my website where I talk about more in depth on how to fix squeaky or creaky or creaking wood floors. Links in description and on the top comment. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time. Feel free to take a look at many of our other YouTube videos and also some of our articles on our website, soundproofguide.com. Don't forget to click the like button if you enjoyed this video, and also consider subscribing to our channel if you like our content. Also, feel free to leave us a comment below if you have any soundproofing questions of your own. We will certainly try our very best to help you.